Testing live stream. Add. Hello there. So thanks for tuning into Excel Island live stream. My name is Abatan Sheriffdeen, and welcome to my day 81 of live streaming and learning journey to become a data analyst. Currently, I am a freelancer. Actually, I am a top rated plus freelancer on the Upwork platform. So I decided to go on a learning spree for the next 3 months. So I started with the words with and with the first 100-day learning stream. So the goal is to learn SQL and upskill myself in SQL or Power BI and Python, the data analytics person. So I've been using the resources on the Datacamp platform for the last 81 days. So today is day 81, and I've been so consistent that I am almost through with the learning track, with the data analyst track, SQL, the Datacamp platform. So back to my live stream. So the goal is to learn 30 minutes, 45 minutes to 1 hour every day and compound the knowledge over time. And guess what? Be relevant in data analytics industry. So when opportunity comes, the skills will be there already. So I'm on this career track called the data analyst in SQL career track. I'm 89% through the career track. So after completing this career track, the goal is to start the data analyst in Power BI career track, and also I will be live streaming that learning journey also. So do make sure to subscribe to the channel right now and put on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know whenever I go live and start live streaming the data analyst in Power BI, whenever I drop new content on the channel. There's also the data analyst in Python track also. I'll also be doing that also. So if I go back, if I click on the data analyst in SQL career track, it actually contained 11 courses broken down by four chapters each. There's 11 courses broken down. Each courses is broken down to 4 chapters each. Get it now. So I'm almost throughout the chapter through the career track, as you can see, with the mark of 89%. Let this put up. Try to load it one. So why this is coming up, as I said earlier, that I'm a top rated plus freelance data analyst on the Upwork platform. So I've had major success on the platform. That is why I am I'm currently a full-time freelancer, but I freelance and work from home. And that is due to the influence of a coach or a mentor who has actually guided me through the freelancing space, how to navigate the freelancing world. Not successful also. So his name is Benga DB, and he currently has a course called the Freelance Client Magnet course. And what this course does is that it also teaches you how to become a successful freelancer and run a successful freelancing business. I'll leave a link to the course under the YouTube description. So make sure to check it out and purchase the course with the link under the bio. The course price is about to go up very fast, very quick. I will encourage you to give the course a shot. So back to this right now. So it has come up. You can see 11 courses, one course project. One project is not enough. You need to practice, practice, and practice. So I'm on this chapter 10, the 10th course, which is understanding data visualization. We have the data communication concepts and the project, the statement of accomplishment. I think they also have a certification here on Datacamp platform, the Datacamp certification, which I plan to also take after completing that part of the course. If I go back, my progress dashboard, the goal is to learn 30 minutes, 45 minutes every time. So let's give it a shot today and see what we can learn. So understanding data visualization. I'm on the last chapter of this course. I learned that. Okay, I have second slide open, so I can easily follow along what the course doctor is saying. So I click on this. Okay, fourth chapter of the course. I started it yesterday also. So I finished chapter 3 yesterday, chapter 4. Let's do a couple of.
Let's take a look at problems with axes in plots. One thing that's fundamental to bar plots is that the length of each bar is proportional to whatever value it represents. In this infographic found on the wonderful subreddit, Data is Ugly, the 22.5% scored by Yang in the poll appears to be much larger than the 21% scored by Sanders, or Bernie, as he is affectionately referred to here. If we draw the bar plot correctly, you can see that the difference between the two poll scores is fairly small. I don't want to single out Yang specifically, but I would like to warn you to be cautious when interpreting plots on political posters. It isn't just politicians who play fast and loose with the rules of data visualization. This time we have a stacked bar plot from Data is Ugly about market share of phone operating systems. The problem with this is more subtle. Rather than making up bar lengths to look good on a poster, the values do match a real scale. The mistake is that the y-axis, containing market share, begins at 75% instead of 0. This makes it look like Android and iOS have similar market shares. If we draw the stacked bar plot correctly, we see that Android has a much larger share. Another common bad idea for plots is to use two y-axes. This is typically done when you want to plot two things on the y-axis with very different scales. Here you can see the United Nations dataset with length of schooling on the x-axis. The red points are related to life expectancy and linked to the y-axis on the left. The blue points link to the Human Development Index for the country and link to the y-axis on the right. The two axes are needed here because the life expectancies are all between 50 and 90, but the Human Development Index is on a scale from 0 to 1. The problem is that by changing the right-hand y-axis, the interpretation of the plot changes completely. On the left, it looks like there's a strong correlation between life expectancy and Human Development Index, but on the right, it looks like there's no correlation. You have to stare hard at the numbers on the axis to see what's going on. A much better solution is to admit that you're trying to plot two different things and keep them in separate panels, so it's clear to your audience that they're different metrics. Time to play with some axes.
Axis. Bar plot axis. When we look at a bar plot, we use the relative length of the bar to help interpret what is happening. If you don't put 0, the axis used for bar length, then the relative length of bars are distorted and it is easy to be misled. Here is a bar plot of a question from the health survey this time about people with asthma. Asthma symptoms were reported. Medication was taken for asthma previous 12. Let's compare the version of the source with each y-axis and determine which statement it includes 0 on the y-axis. Okay, if you include 0 on the y-axis, the plot is going to change. Exclude 0 on the y-axis, 85, 90, 500. Is which statement the percentage of asthmatic is less than 50 for every. I know that less than that from the y-axis. Percentage of respondents with asthma. Okay, the y-axis is showing the percentage It's why asthma. Look at it like this. 590. You look at it. So the percentage of percentage less than 50 or not. Is 18 to 24 years old have more twice percentage of non-positive asthma or asthmatic cardiac less than 50%. If we include the y, let me exclude the y-axis, is on 95 to 100, less than 50%. Less on for every age group. This is like 93, right? Also, that's not because it says for every age group. This has beat it. Because the 16 to 24 years olds have more than twice the percentage of non-asthmatics and 45 to 54. 15 4 years have more than twice the percentage of non-asthmatics. The majority of people aged 35 to 74 asthma, 35 to 74. Majority of people aged 35 or 5, 5 goes up again. Look at them here. Majority of people, the percentage of asthmatic ranges from about 40%, 80%, depending on the age. The first one, percentage of asthma. If you're using this scale here is less than 50 every age. You're using this because the scale of 0 to 1 tests 0 to 100. When 0 is not included, the best. Hello. Okay. The next dual axis. That is dual axis on the y axis based on different scale. One popular but terrible idea is to draw a scatter plot or line plot with two different y. Definitely, I've never seen a scatter plot two different. I've never seen a line chart two different y axis. Typically happens when you have two metrics with different scale that you want to plot against exact. So the problem is that by changing the relationship between the two axes, you can tell almost any story that you want with data. Here you can see the stock prices from 2017. When you saw this chapter 3, each price adjusted relative to the maximum product company. That way each line was comparable. Here the prices have been adjusted for dividends and They have not been scaled relative to the maximum. Adjust the vertical position, the slope for the Amazon. Determine which statement. Adjust the vertical thickness of the slope for the Amazon. Which statement. Let the Amazon. Let's look at this is on a scale Amazon price in USD, top price in USD. Supposed to be on the same. Add this value to the multiply the Amazon to by this value. So 40. Adjust the vertical for the line. The vertical position. Fifty scale of scale is it? Scale is scale is better. Okay. You have the multiply the Amazon line to by this value here. Is the Microsoft and Amazon are correlated. Positively correlated or negative. Have no correlation. Can't make a because if you want to make a correlation, you have like a like some delightful debunking because it doesn't make sense to have dual axis. So that is the idea. Wow. I've never seen a line chart with dual y axis. Doesn't really make sense. Delightful debunking would have been better to do manual like or just create a without the overload.
There are two basic measures of how good your data visualization is. The first measure is how many insights can the reader get from your plot. For far too many plots, the answer is 0. In this video, we'll look at some ways to avoid that situation. The second measure is how quickly the reader will get those insights. If your plot is being presented in a meeting, you might reasonably expect your audience to concentrate on your plot for 20 seconds. Often, you need to get your message across quickly. Chart junk refers to anything in the plot that makes it harder for the reader to get insight into the data. We'll look at some common problems in the following slides. One term that's less well known is skeuomorphism. That means adding things that happen in the real world to virtual objects. For example, you could add shadows to bars in a bar plot. Here's an example from the BBC TV network. found on the Junk Charts blog. This probably ought to be a bar plot, but since the y-axis doesn't begin at 0, it suggests that maybe the BBC was aiming for a dot plot. In which case, is the height represented by the top of the head or the center of the head? Using a picture of a man instead of a bar makes things harder to understand, not easier. This example was created by the Fox News TV channel and found by Media Matters for America. You can see some familiar problems with a bar plot, like the y-axis not including 0, distorting the relative heights of the bars. Also notice that the time periods have been arbitrarily limited to October to April, omitting what happened between May and September each year. Let's focus on the skeuomorphic elements of the plot. There's a shadow across the panel of the plot, which adds no value, but since it travels upwards and to the right, it gives a subconscious signal that numbers are increasing. The bars also have been given a slight depth to them. The 3D aspect makes it harder to accurately judge where they lie against the y-axis, so the bar heights have to be written in text to compensate. By stripping away all the junk, the data is easier to see. This plot was found on the Data is Ugly subreddit and has many problems. Try pausing the video and counting the issues you can find. Let's concentrate on the unnecessary use of 3D perspective. Bar plots are inherently two-dimensional. You have categories on one axis and a continuous variable on the other axis. By making bars three-dimensional, you don't provide additional information, but simply make it harder to judge the lengths of bars. A 2D bar plot is easier to read, although one category label is missing and the percentages don't add up to 100, so it's unclear what the y-axis represents. Here's another plot from Data is Ugly, showing seats in the German Federal Council. There are 16 states and several political parties. Parties typically have to enter into a power-sharing coalition to get seats in each state. Each political party has a color associated with their brand. CDU is black, SPD is red, Grüne is green, and so on. Each state on the map, or slice of pie plot, has the color of the party which won the most votes, and stripes colored by the other parties sharing power. The problem is that the plot is just too ugly to look at, so no one can get any insights from it. In general, stripes or other forms of hatching should be avoided in plots because they're just plain difficult to stare at. One Reddit user tried to improve the plot, as shown on the right. By removing the hatching, it's much nicer to look at the plot. Let's go to war on chart junk.
Why is it taking so? That junk. That that junk is anything a plot that distracts from getting in. That is when it's make the easier to understand. Here's the scatter plot, greatest heap of time added link element of type, two grid lines, panel about the whether it all is in the code it. There's no access limit. That's one of the most important. Okay. So element of what is not a of this. That's why we interpret. The data set is so complex that it takes several plots to explore properly. Rather than trying to captures and combine plots, but if you want to have here you can yes whether can set this data sets in a dashboard in the by party values are called parties and call level of transparency based on power. A primary party the primary party take secondary are slightly explore the data map with the correlation by party. Primary correlation SPD only party must see SPD FD between is FD check the map. South City Western is the west out. Probably the first different SP almost as the tertiary party SP data.
Well done. You've seen a lot of data visualizations now. In Chapter 1, you learned that histograms are excellent for showing the distribution of a continuous variable, and that box plots can compactly show the distributions of lots of continuous variables. In Chapter 2, you saw that scatter plots can show the relationship between two continuous variables, and that line plots are great for showing trends over time. You also saw that bar plots show counts or proportions split by categories, and that dot plots will do the same, but allow for logarithmic scales and showing multiple metrics at once. In Chapter 3, you saw that using colors or multiple panels are often the best way to add a third dimension to your plot, since 3D plots are hard to interpret. Way to add a third dimension to multiple metrics at once. And that dot plots will do the same. You also saw that bar plots show counts or proportions split by categories, and that dot plots will do the same, but allow for logarithmic scales and showing multiple metrics at once. In Chapter 3, you saw that using colors or multiple panels are often the best way to add a third dimension to your plot, since 3D plots are hard to interpret. You also learned that there are three types of color scale: qualitative, sequential, and diverging. For cases where you need to analyze many variables at once, you saw three types of plots. Pair plots show relationships between each pair of variables. Correlation heat maps show related variables, and parallel coordinates plots show patterns across many variables. In Chapter 4, you learned that plots with polar coordinates are usually a bad idea, but they have niche uses when data is cyclical, like a time of day. You also learned that using dual axes is almost always misleading, and that minimalism is a good idea. You should eliminate anything from the plot that distracts from interpretations. If you're interested in learning more about data visualization, you can take courses on the R package ggplot2, which was used to create the plots in this course, or on business intelligence tools like Tableau, or Python packages like Matplotlib and Seaborn. Happy learning!
I think we are still coming back to data visualization, ggplots, Tableau or Power BI. Power BI for sure. Visualization map.lib. And we've come to the end of this chapter also. That means we're moving to the last course. Data communication concept. So we're going to start this tomorrow on day 82. Let's go. So that will be the end of the live stream today. Alright, so thanks for staying till the end of this live stream. If you found value in this video, please support the channel by giving this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Also, do not forget to check out the freelance clients magnet course by Benga DBE using the link under the YouTube description. I'll see you tomorrow's live stream day 82 or any other video on the channel. Bye for now and have a wonderful rest of the day.